Maplewood, Vermont, was the kind of place that looked like it had been painted by memory. Timeless, gentle, just a little worn at the edges. Folks called it God's pocket. A little bowl of pine trees and snow, nestled between soft hills and frozen lakes. The kind of place where chimneys smoked in winter, and mail was still delivered on foot. It was a town where news traveled fast, but kindness traveled faster. And this story, well, it started with a dog. Not just any dog. A dog with a grizzled snout, cloudy eyes, and a past not many knew in detail. His name was Duke, and this is the story of the day he disappeared beneath the ice, and how he changed 3 lives forever. Everett Thompson didn't ask for much in his old age. At 81, his world had narrowed. Mornings were slow, his knees hurt. The house creaked louder than it used to, and so did he. He spent most of his time in a recliner by the front window, the kind with a blanket draped over the back, like it had always belonged there. Everett was a man carved from the old world, a Korean War veteran, a widower, a father who buried his only son to leukemia at 15. He didn't speak much of those days. Most people thought he was quiet because of age. Truth was, he was tired of the sound of things being taken from him. His only constant companion was Duke, a 12-year-old German shepherd with a coat more salt than pepper, and legs that creaked almost as much as Everett's. Duke had been a rescue, taken in after Everett's wife, Margaret, passed. Someone had abandoned the dog on a snowy road outside town. Everett, driving back from the cemetery, spotted him, emaciated, limping, eyes full of fight. He didn't say a word, just opened the passenger door. Duke climbed in, laid his head on the seat, and didn't move. From that day forward, they were stitched together by silence and survival. Lily Carter was the kind of child who could find joy in dust. She and her parents had just moved into a small, rented cottage behind the feed store. Her father, once a construction foreman in Connecticut, now took odd jobs fixing shutters and clearing gutters in Maplewood. Her mother worked the cash register at the co-op. They had fallen on hard times, as many had. But Lily, she never seemed to notice. Her imagination filled in the cracks. She wore a pink puffer jacket, 2 sizes too big. It made her look like a marshmallow with feet. Every morning, she passed Everett's house on her way to the school bus. And every morning, she stopped to see Duke. It started with a wave, then a smile, then a crust of toast from breakfast, tucked in her mitten. Duke began waiting for her. The old dog, who rarely moved from the porch, would rise when he heard her voice. His tail thumped against the wood. Everett watched from the window, always pretending not to care, but never missing it. One morning, Lily said, "He's a good boy, a brave boy." Everett grunted, "Don't know about brave, he's old." Lily shrugged. "Sometimes the old ones are the bravest." Everett didn't say it, but her words hit deeper than he liked. It was a Tuesday in January. The kind that tricks you with a little sun, while the air still bites your nose. The local elementary school had walked the children to Maple Lake for some fresh air and supervised play near the edge. They weren't meant to step onto the ice. The warnings had been clear, but children are children. The lake looked solid, beautiful even, with a shimmering top layer of frost. Lily saw something glinting out near the middle of the lake, a blue marble, like one from a treasure box. Maybe it had rolled out of someone's pocket. Maybe it was just a trick of the light. But Lily, curious and kind-hearted, stepped toward it. Just a few steps, just enough. The ice cracked. A sharp, sickening snap, like a branch breaking underfoot. The silence that followed was immediate and terrifying. Then the splash, a scream, and Lily was gone. Miss Marla, the aide, screamed and rushed forward, calling Lily's name, her boots slipping on the ice. The other children froze in fear. Some began to cry. One boy ran back toward the road, screaming for help. At the top of the hill, Everett and Duke had been watching from the bench, like always. When Lily went under, Everett felt his blood freeze. But Duke ran, faster than anyone would have believed. His joint should have stopped him. His age should have held him back. But there was no hesitation, no fear. Just instinct, just loyalty. He tore down the snowy hill, his body low and swift, leapt straight onto the ice, and without even slowing, launched himself into the jagged hole. where Lily had disappeared. The lake swallowed him whole. Silence again. Everett limped as fast as he could to the edge. Heart pounding, throat tight. By the time he got there, Duke was gone beneath the surface. The hole was still, just black water and broken ice. Everett dropped to his knees. People were shouting, phones were out. Someone called the fire station. A few tried crawling toward the hole to look, but the ice groaned beneath their weight and they backed away. Time stretched. 1 minute, 2, 3. Nothing. Everett stared at the water, hands trembling. In his mind, he was back in Korea. Back in the storm, the cold, the loss. "Come on, Duke," he whispered. "Come on, boy." Then it happened. A ripple, a soft bubble of motion. And suddenly, Duke burst through the black water. Jaws clenched on a pink sleeve. Lily's pink sleeve. Her coat bobbed beside him, her face pale and still. Everett screamed for help, but the crowd had already begun to move. A firefighter named Jim Halbrook, barely out of his boots from another call, plunged forward and reached into the freezing water, gripping Lily under the arms. Another man helped drag Duke out. The old dog collapsed on the ice, trembling violently. They covered Lily with coats, working CPR into her tiny chest. Breath after breath, Everett knelt beside Duke, cradling the dog's head. "You did it," he murmured. "You found her." They rushed Lily to the Maplewood Medical Clinic. Duke, too, was carried in a thermal blanket and laid beside a heater in Everett's truck. He didn't lift his head. The vet was called, a young woman named Dr. Miles. She set Duke up with fluids, blankets, and oxygen. Everett didn't leave his side. All night he sat in that clinic, holding Duke's paw, whispering things only the dog could hear. Memories, thank yous, regrets. At the hospital, Lily remained unconscious. Her body temperature was dangerously low. They said time would tell. Everett found a photograph in his wallet. A boy, freckled and smiling. Jamie, his son, lost to leukemia at 15. Everett stared at the picture for a long time. Then he whispered, "Help her, Jamie, let her live." When Lily opened her eyes 2 days later, the first thing she asked was, "Is Duke okay?" They brought her to Everett's home, wrapped in scarves and blankets. Duke lay by the fire, breathing slow, eyes barely open. Lily leaned forward and whispered, "Hey, brave boy." And Duke, tired, weak but alive, lifted his head and gave her hand the softest lick. The town never forgot what happened that day. Children laid flowers at Everett's fence. The mayor awarded Duke a medal, but Everett didn't care about honors. He just watched the girl and the dog, and for the first time in years, he felt something melt inside his chest. Something warm, something like hope, as the snow melted and spring arrived. Lily became a fixture in Everett's life. Every afternoon after school, she walked to his porch with a book in hand, sat cross-legged by Duke's side, and read aloud to him. Duke listened, eyes half closed, tail wagging softly. Everett found himself waiting for those moments, brewing tea before she arrived, humming old tunes Margaret used to play on the piano. Once she brought a notebook and read him a story she'd written. It was about a knight with a silver beard and his dragon-sized dog who saved a kingdom from ice. Everett chuckled and wiped his eyes. When summer came, Duke's legs grew stronger. They walked together, slow and steady, to the general store and back. People waved, they smiled. They asked how Duke was, how Everett was, and every time, Everett would nod and say, "Better now." Years passed. Duke grew frailer. Lily grew taller. The town of Maplewood grew a little kinder. On Duke's 15th birthday, the whole town held a picnic in the square. Children brought their dogs. Seniors brought lawn chairs. Someone even baked a cake, shaped like a bone. Lily gave a speech. "He didn't just save me," she said. "He saved Mr. Everett too. And he taught us all that sometimes the oldest hearts are the strongest." When Duke passed away that fall, he was lying in his favorite spot by the fire, with Everett in his chair and Lily at his side. They buried him beneath the big oak tree in Everett's yard, the one that turned gold each October. The town brought flowers. Someone carved a small stone. Duke, loyal friend, brave heart. Everett followed the next year in his sleep, with the morning sun on his face. In his will, he left Lily the house, with a note that read, For the girl who gave an old man something to live for. Lily stayed. She planted flowers around Duke's tree. She became a teacher at the local school. And every year, on the anniversary of the lake, the children gathered and told the story of the dog who jumped in and the girl who came out. Because in Maplewood, some legends don't need castles, just courage, loyalty, and a little girl in a pink coat who never forgot the dog who saved her life. If this story moved you, tell us where you're from and share a memory of a dog who changed your life. Because some heroes don't wear capes, they wear fur and walk beside us even through the coldest waters.